We are back with another podcast you can't refuse here on the Godfather Minute. I am Alex Robinson.
And I'm Andy Robinson.
And we are the Godfather Minute. We're talking about the movie The Godfather 1 minute at a time. Broke down and discussed and analyzed by us.
That's it. You ready for your Italian lesson?
Yes. What minute are we doing today, signor?
E minuto numero 22. Gotta use your hand. 22. Excelente.
Minuto numero 22. Whoa, I was in the home stretch. I messed it up.
22.
That's 22.
You got it. You're getting better every time.
That's true.
I do want to point that out.
Thank you.
You're doing so well. You're ready for my audio cassette Italian program, Alex.
Really? That sounds intriguing. What's it like?
Well, it's great. You can learn Italian just 1 minute at a time. And before you know it, you'll be able to interact with Italian-speaking people all over the world.
Everyone from bakers to corpse jockeys. No, not corpse jock. Corpse valets.
Corpse valets. How much would you expect to pay me for that kind of service?
So yes, we are discussing Minuto Numero 22.
You got it. Nice.
Wow. Grazie. And we've just heard the story about brains and contracts last minute, and this one it kind of ends with Michael doing a little not a summary, but
what would you call it?
Anyway, he says. That's not me. He says that's the true story.
That's a true story.
That's how it. Because then he does say that's my family. That's not me.
I'm guessing he says that because that's probably myth or
because she heard about Frank Sinatra.
Exactly. It's probably lore in that world in that time, and so he's confirming. He's like, that's a true story.
Also, the other weird thing about the Frank Sinatra Dorsey thing that we discussed last minute that I forgot to do, that story happened in like 1946. So the Johnny Fontaine's. I guess it's around the same time.
Yeah, it is right at the end of World War II.
Right. Oh, but the Johnny Fontaine story happened eight years earlier. So Johnny Fontaine was actually first.
Yeah.
So yes, there you go.
Yeah. Wow.
So I think Michael says that's a true story because Mario Puzo was imagining Frank Sinatra getting all mad and him being like, "That's a true story." Like, no, it's not a true story.
He keeps bringing it up throughout the whole movie. Hey, okay, remember I told you that story earlier? In case anyone disbelieved it, it's a true story.
They should have had that in 3 where they're reminiscing about their times together. Like, remember that story I told you about Frank Sinatra? I thought you told me it was Johnny Fontaine. Oh no, that was Frank Sinatra the whole time. I just didn't want to get sued.
And by the way, his friend. Kay's friend. I'm mixing voices. By the way, Kay, his friend. Not Humphrey Bogart. Who's the cowboy that we were joking about
Ronald Reagan?
At the dinner party?
John Wayne.
Oh, and by the way, John Wayne is a wimp. he's getting back. And you should have put that in Godfather 3 because that's where it happened.
All right. Well, we're still talking about minute 21 because that minute was so good. So the line, "That's my family, Kay. That's not me." For some reason, that strikes me as it's a very important line, I feel like, because obviously at this point, Michael is, separate from his family. And then, later on he becomes the head of the family and then worries about being, losing his family, being separated from his family. Yeah. So it's kind of it's a line with a lot of, foreboding, I guess, behind it because what winds up happening and so on. So,
and he's working so hard as the movie progresses to do all these things for his family.
Yeah,
but in the end, we know what happens. So it is interesting how his mindset changes, and despite his efforts,
right? Well, I guess he feels like his hand was forced.
Yeah,
because of. Well, I wonder what Michael.
Yeah, he didn't want. That's not the way Pop wanted it.
That's the way I wanted it.
That is the way Pop wanted it. No, that's not the way Pop wanted it.
I said that is the way Pop wanted it.
Yeah, it is. No, but it really wasn't the way Pop wanted it. It's like, I expected something else for you, my son. I wanted you to be Senator Corleone.
But it was the way Pop wanted it for Michael to take over.
Yes, but not originally.
Yeah, not originally. Because, Fredo,
Now, I want to go back to Fredo's nightclub just for 1 second. Wait, did we talk about this in the bonus content or in the regular episode?
That was on the bonus content last week.
Okay, so we talked about Fredo's
Mickey
really
Mouse
having a nightclub called Fredo Corleone's Mickey Mouse nightclub and hiring someone to be the Fredo Corleone character in the nightclub that you could go into the nightclub and pick on him to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
Would that person look like Fredo? Would you hire a Fredo impersonator?
No.
Why not?
Well, because if Fredo runs the club, he's not going to want someone who looks like him being this. Dude, if anything, it would be like Sonny. Like they would look like it. It'd be like James Sonny because like, oh, now he's some big thin man in charge.
But of course, the Sonny would be like kind of like ugly looking,
Yeah, like
just like with a wig,
guy
you know, with like the suspenders and the white.
Mr. Fredo, we need more ice down in the ice machine. Shut up, you.
Shut up, Sonny. Go sit down. Fredo really convinces himself that it's Sonny.
Okay, so yeah.
Back to the minute. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do this.
I wonder what Michael would have done had fate not. Let's look into the future where the Turk comes to the Don and says, "I have this deal, and if $1 million is a little investment, salud." The Don was like, "Yeah, I'm going to take you up on your offer," and then the wars between the 5 families never started, and
everyone gets into drugs.
Michael was not pulled back into the family. This time he's out, and they're not pulling him back in. I wonder what he would have done. Would it have been Senator Corleone or Governor Corleone?
There probably would have been enough time, Alex.
So,
because he would not have had to put so much time into maintaining the family, because war is not good for anyone.
Yeah,
that's true. It's not good for business.
What is it good for?
And so I don't know. He probably would have, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he still would have gotten pulled into the business. Well, because the other question is, if the Corleones had gotten into drugs, the other families would have too, likely to compete,
right?
And because the Corleones are definitely setting the
as long as they don't sell it into schools.
Yeah. But then inevitably there would have been probably some type of bad blood. Like they say in the book and in the movie, every few years. I think Clemenza is one that said every few years there's a war. So maybe at one point Michael would have been pulled in. But that was a real formative period for him. He had just come back from the war. He probably didn't have much to do.
Yeah. And also, like the Turk says, like the Don was getting sloppy.
Yeah.
So, he might not have. But then again, depending on the timeline, it's possible that the Don might have been semi-retired and handed it off to Sonny at that point before he got shot.
Yeah.
And then Michael would not have. Although, I guess if Sonny dies, does Michael automatically come in no matter where he is? Like if he's like a city councilman, with an upwardly rising career, I guess he would feel obligated to because... if the Don was gone, just died of old age, and then Sonny was shot and killed on the causeway, they massacre him. So then, would Fredo take over?
Well, and maybe at that point, Fredo would have come into his own. He'd be more confident, more time. It's hard to believe. I
think that would be that would mark as the end of the that's when things started to fall apart. Because you have to think if Fredo's in charge, some of the Frank Fantangeli and those guys might start defecting over to the
starting their own families.
Yeah, or just becoming captains under Tattaglia or Barzini or one of those guys, or those Rosado brothers.
Those Rosado brothers. They don't respect nothing.
They should really hit him now while they got the muscle.
By the way, in last episode's bonus content, we talked about scenes we would want to see that we never did. A lot of Frank Pantangeli scenes.
Oh, totally.
Definitely his beef with the Rosado brothers, all that. So to answer your question, I'm not sure what Michael would have done. I mean, he's smart. He's
smart.
He's smart. I'm sure his father would have bankrolled him to do whatever he wanted to do.
Yeah.
There is a part in the book.
Hero.
I'm gonna confess I read it, but I'm not prepared to talk about it today. But
are you pleading the fifth?
I'm not pleading the fifth, as it is my right to do so. But I think it's Sonny. So when Don Corleone is shot, Michael gets involved with this whole Salazzo McCluskey thing, and while Sonny is still alive, Sonny shares with Michael that he always knew Michael would get involved with the family business.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which is not in the movie.
Yeah.
But in the book, he says, I always knew it, kid. And believably, he wasn't just giving him a hard time. He's like, I always knew even when you went off, you would come back and work for us.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't think, of course, at that point, he's saying you would lead the family.
Yeah,
I don't think. Actually, I got to go back and check. Sonny may even comment on that, but probably not.
I would see him being more of like a Tom Hagen type of role, like not calling the shots, but facilitating.
Yeah.
He'd be like the gray guy who's like seems legit, but
Yeah.
Which I guess Tom Hagen kind of
Like
is.
a Mo Green?
Huh.
Oh, but
Are
Mo
you asking
Green.
me if I like Mo Green?
No, I'm saying would he be a Mo Green type character? I don't think so. No, because
No.
Mo Green made his bones. He worked his way up from the bottom.
He'd be more. I don't think we don't really see many. Maybe in Godfather 3 we see some crooked politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we see Senator Pat Geary, but Pat Geary is contemptuous of the mob at that point in Godfather 2. I picture him being more like he'd be like a senator and
Getting into politics.
or
a
like
councilman.
or maybe starting to run some of the legitimate businesses.
Absolutely. Helping the Don transition to really what he ended up doing for the family.
Or trying to do.
Yeah.
The thing is, every time he got out, they would pull him back in.
They would what?
They would pull him back in.
Yeah, I guess they did, didn't they?
Yeah.
It'd be funny if in Godfather 3 when he says that line,
Yeah.
Connie and Al, I think, who are both in the kitchen with him when he says that, they're like, no, they didn't pull you back in.
No, they pulled me back in. He's like, frankly, Michael, they're kind of sick of you hanging around all the time.
Why don't you take a racquetball or something? Come on, you need to relax.
There's your hobby. There's your hobby.
Carlo.
So, speaking of Michael, I was going to showcase a bit about Al Pacino, the actor who plays him.
Excellent.
Specifically, he was a very new actor at this point. He only had, I think, 3 credits.
Oh, really?
He did 1 movie, a TV appearance, and 1 other thing.
Yeah, he looks very young in this.
Yes.
And especially in this opening scene where he's wearing his Marines uniform and talking to Kay.
Yeah, and Francis Ford Coppola really fought hard, even though they wanted to replace, like I think they wanted Robert Redford for the Michael Corleone role, which is weird to imagine.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I was just curious as to how big of an Al Pacino expert. How many Al Pacino has done 56 movies?
Oh my goodness.
Do you want to see how many Al Pacino?
How many ones I know?
Yeah, how many can you name?
Devil's Advocate.
Well, how about this? What are some of your other favorite Al Pacino performances? How about that?
Heat is a great one.
I've never seen Heat.
Oh, fantastic movie. I like those kinds of movies.
Is that the
Cops.
one? Yeah, is that the one with
and Robert De Niro's in it? He plays
Yeah.
the villain. Well, if you look at it that way.
Yeah,
He plays a bank robber.
Is
Al
there
Pacino.
a movie where Godfather, where Marlon Brando either does a scene with either Al Pacino or Robert De Niro?
No, you're thinking of another movie. It's a heist movie starring Robert De Niro and Edward Norton, and Marlon Brando. I think is the one who is sort of the
Behind the scenes
guy who
pulling the strings.
He seems to always find that role. I think he just is the one who connects them with the job, and there's an opening scene.
So there's no scene with them together.
Oh no, there is.
No, with Robert. So Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and
Marlon Brando.
Yeah, okay.
Al Pacino's not in that movie.
Right.
Though.
Yeah. They can't touch because they'll rip a hole in the space time continuum since they're the same person at different ages.
Yeah.
So-
and so Heat is a great movie. Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves. Al Pacino, it's okay. It's kind of fun. That was definitely in Al Pacino's later years. What are the other big Al Pacino movies?
I don't know if it counts as a big Al Pacino movie, but I think Glenn Ross.
Oh,
that's a fantastic movie.
Al Pacino is not in that, is he?
Yes. Yeah, he's the hotshot salesman.
No, that's Alec Baldwin.
No, but Al Pacino is one of the...
he is. That's right. Yeah.
He's like he's probably the best of that pack of lawyers.
Yeah, he's like the Sonny Corleone of that group.
Exactly.
He's like the hotshot, running the show.
And it's just at that edge of Al Pacino being hammy versus being a regular performance.
Yeah.
I guess the cliche is that he does a lot of yelling.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that one where he was blind? What was that one called?
The Scent of a Woman?
Scent of a Woman.
I did see it.
That was the one where he invented, came up with all that stuff.
That represented his full transition to the modern day elderly Al Pacino, right?
The mature Al Pacino.
The full power.
The ripening of Al Pacino.
I liked it.
Well, Dog Day Afternoon.
Oh, classic.
And that, of course, has John Cazale in it,
Fredo
too.
Corleone.
Yeah.
I also saw Scarecrow, I think it was called, with
That's another
Gene
early
Hackman.
one.
Very old one from the 70s, which I only saw once when I was on this kick of watching all these older 70s, and I remember really liking it.
Serpico. Have you seen Serpico?
I have not seen Serpico
That's another
yet.
young, I wasn't knocked out by it when I saw it.
No. Doesn't that have a classic line in it that is often repeated?
I'm Serpico. They call me Serpico. I don't know. They call me Serpico.
Serpico.
No, I don't remember if there's a line from that one.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of movies I always get confused, like Marathon Man, Serpico. I've never seen Marathon Man.
Is Al Pacino in Marathon Man?
No, that was Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, that's right. Because they cross over sometimes.
At that middle, not now so
Yeah.
much, but at a certain point when their younger career, when they were both kind of like.
Well, they were both in. Weren't Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino in that movie where Dustin Hoffman played
Tootsie.
the mentally challenged guy, and they were brothers going across the country.
Is Al Pacino in that?
Yeah, doesn't he play his brother?
No, Tom Cruise is his brother in that.
Tom Cruise is whose brother?
Dustin Hoffman's brother.
Oh, really? That's Tom Cruise?
Yeah, where they're what was that movie called?
Not Marathon Man. Back full circle.
Anyway, everyone at home knows what
Something
we're talking
Man.
about.
Rain Man.
Rain Man.
Man,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's Tom Cruise and
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino. Oh, Dick
No,
Tracy.
not Al Pacino.
Dustin Hoffman and Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Zaza.
I'm looking through his credits, and Dick Tracy is
Al Pacino?
is a great. Al Pacino
I've never
is
seen
the
Dick
villain.
Tracy.
It's not a good movie. It's an interesting movie because it tries to be very cartoony. It's very bold colors, and the performance. Al Pacino is perfect because he's purposely hammy.
Yeah.
So
perfect.
A lot of people were saying that because it came out around the same time as Batman, the Jack Nicholson Batman, and people were saying if Al Pacino's one had been first, he would have been the one everyone's raving about because his performance is it's a funny performance, especially as an Al Pacino appreciator.
Yeah, neat.
So
It's funny you should bring up Dick Tracy because just this week I was. This is unrelated to really what we're talking about, but it's still kind of funny.
which is only barely related to the minute we're talking about.
We do have to get back to the minute too because I got a couple of things about it.
It's a very transitional minute. Not really much happens
yeah.
in it, so it's hard to.
So, am I allowed to use profanity? Like the S
We're
word,
talking about R-rated
S word?
movies. I just think you can.
Okay, so
If it's an R-rated movie, kids shouldn't be listening to this anyway.
someone said to me the other day, "No shit, Sherlock," which is a common expression of our generation. And then someone else, unrelated at work, said to me, "Oh, are you going to do your go and do some go and do your best Dick Tracy."
Yeah.
In other words, go investigate something. And I just started wondering the difference between Sherlock and Dick Tracy. And if you're called that of course, someone says, "No shit, Sherlock," they're insulting you. But is there how do those two iconic investigators compare? At least in pop culture. I don't want to get into films and all that, but.
Well, I think the Dick Tracy one is a deeper pull because other than this obscure movie.
Well, court, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, I walked right into that.
That was
one.
all a setup. Just for that.
Nice job, Columbo.
Oh, there we go.
So whereas Sherlock Holmes is constantly being is rebooted so that every generation knows about it.
Yeah.
So
not so much Dick Tracy, which was originally a comic book?
Comic strip.
Strip. Okay.
Yeah, and it still is a comic strip, but no one
really?
pays attention to comic strips anymore.
Wow.
So so Dick Tracy was once very huge, but
who would you want solving your murder? If you were murdered, who would you want on the case?
who would I want on the case?
Yeah. And you want it solved.
But it has to be a pop culture.
No, it's either Dick Tracy or Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, Sherlock Holmes.
Really? You didn't even pause. How come?
No. Well, first of all, I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Okay.
And I feel like Dick Tracy is more like he's not so much an investigator. He's a more hands-on kind of.
Is he a cop? I don't know much about
he's like a police detective.
Okay.
So I don't know. He just seems more. I know he's not by the books, but and I've not read a lot of Dick Tracy, but I don't know. He just seems a bit more square than I'd rather have the Sherlock Holmes.
Well, Sherlock Holmes is pretty square, but so square and nerdy, at least in the modern iteration.
Yeah,
that
he's so
cool.
he's so square that he has gone past. You know, he's hip to be square. If you're Sherlock Holmes.
Got it. So you would want Sherlock. Are you saying also that Sherlock would be more likely to solve the case?
Yeah, I think he is. It's hard to imagine a case that would stump Sherlock Holmes that Dick Tracy would be able to pull off, unless it was like specifically like Prune Face or a Dick Tracy villain that Dick Tracy would be like, oh, obviously that's Prune Face killed him. So he left a prune here by the side of the crime. What about you? Let's expand it. What pop culture detective do you want solving your crime?
Well, those are the only two. I guess there's Columbo. Well, there's a ton now with Law and Order and CSI. I know. I would want Detective Mackey from the strike team.
Oh, from The Shield?
From The Shield.
Nice. Okay. That's a good one.
Assuming he's really trying to solve the crime, because I know Vic Mackey didn't always try to solve the mysteries.
Yeah, that's true.
If it benefited him not to.
Yeah.
So back to the minute then?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So as we said, the scene is very transitional. It's kind of the end of Johnny Fontaine's performance, and then the Don comes out to greet Johnny.
I have one point I want to make. So while Johnny is singing in this minute, it was noticeable how much Tessio was enjoying it. He's standing stage right with this huge smile on his face, just staring at Johnny, kind of smiling and moving his head a little bit. And it's hard to tell why he's smiling. And is he truly just enjoying the song and the experience, or is he maybe in his mind remembering when Johnny wasn't so popular?
Yeah, I was just saying,
and thinking like, wow, he's
the neighborhood kid done good. Or maybe it's the kind of thing where Tessio is the one who introduced him to the Don and said, this. There's some connection that Tessio's like, I kind of had something to do with this.
Yeah. And maybe Tessio was at that dinner with Frank Sinatra, John Wayne, and Puzo. And Tessio was throwing oranges at Puzo to support Frank Sinatra. So anyway, those of you that are going to watch minute 22, keep an eye out for a very happy, very content Tessio on stage, right? Enjoying the performance.
I wish they had. I love it when I was watching Connie and what's the husband's name again?
Carlo!
Connie and Carlo, to see what they were just kind of like hanging out and acting lovey. But it's funny when actors keep up their. Like when okay, so here's another level. Was Abe Vigoda just enjoying it on a surface level, or was Abe Vigoda how would Tessio be reacting to this scene?
I'll never know, but maybe a little bit of both. Yeah, maybe the best actors do try to. Yeah, would really enjoy the song so that it would come out in his performance. Yeah, isn't that a method of acting? Isn't that called method acting? Or
method acting is where you're like putting yourself in the shoe, I'm going to live as the character. So.
And wasn't the actor who played Hyman Roth? He was a very famous coach, right? Acting teacher.
Lee Strasberg.
Lee Strasberg. Yeah, and wasn't he a big method actor guy?
Yeah, he was a big method actor who I think he only did like a handful of movies. One of them being because he was mostly a theater guy. So
fascinating.
Yeah. So it would have been funny to see. You don't really think of Abe Vigoda as like an actor. You think of him as an actor and that he's in stuff, but you don't think of like him being like, oh, now what would Fish think in this scene with Barney Miller? Like him being like, what's my motivation? Like, let's say Fish had a bad morning, he had a flat tire, and he doesn't, and so on. So. But maybe he is.
The producers and the directors of Barney Miller are getting so impatient because he keeps stopping. Like, how would the detective? I can't do a good Fish. How would the detective think in this scene? Barney, come on, punch it up.
Yeah. So it would have been funny seeing like Tessio enjoying it, like Clemenza being all like, "No, this guy, he's no good." He thinks he's, because he's also remembering Johnny as a young guy and being like, tangentially, he's all right.
I imagine Clemenza off camera dancing to it all fast, like it's the Godfather foxtrot. And Paulie's like, "Hey, boss, you can stop dancing now. Johnny's singing a ballad. I'll go do your job. Walk around the neighborhood. What are you, a dance judge?"
Paulie's not in this scene, is he?
Oh, he's not in this scene. You won't see Paulie no more. No. I know when Johnny comes in a few minutes ago, and Johnny,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember seeing Paulie watching all the girls and smiling at that, but I don't recall him being in this actual scene, in this shot.
Yeah.
Well, I have an interesting part of the book I'd like to share. Alex, as you know, could you guess?
The book is different than the movie?
The book is different than the movie. The book is different than the movie. The book is different. The book is different. The book is different than the movie. Yeah.
That's right. On page 35, Puzo writes, the whole wedding party this is when Johnny's done singing. The whole wedding party broke into shouts of applause. The three of them embraced each other at the end, and that's Nino, his childhood friend.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So we talked about that earlier. He's not in the movie, but he's in the book quite a bit. The guests begged for another song. Only Don Corleone, standing in the corner entrance of the house, sensed something amiss. What would that be, Alex?
Is it that his voice is weak?
It's weak. It's weak, Alex. His voice is weak.
I wonder if he looked over at the Don and was like, oh, should I sing another song? And then the Don gave him some kind of signal, like either don't sing another song or, yeah, go ahead and sing another song.
Oh, it's interesting because I think this next part is applicable. Cheerily, with bluff good humor, careful not to give offense to his guests, he called out, "My godson has come 3,000 miles to do us honor, and no one thinks to wet his throat." At once, a dozen full wine glasses were thrust to Johnny Fontaine.
Paulie, more wine.
Paulie, more wine. He took a sip from all and rushed to embrace his godfather.
Took a sip from them all?
That's what he said, yeah.
He's totally wasted by the time.
No wonder his voice is weak. He's like just getting trashed at his gigs. As he embraced his godfather, as he did so, he whispered something into the older man's ear. Don Corleone led him into the house. So I think Don Corleone did create this distraction and, hey, he's come all this way. Let's get him some wine to kind of say he really shouldn't perform another song because Don Corleone already sensed his voice was weak.
In the scene, in the movie, you hear Brando saying something like, oh, he's come all the way from California. Yeah. And then they do actually, I think it's just him and Mama and Johnny do the toast.
They drink wine.
Yeah, they don't do the whole...
Paulie, more wine. But it's interesting how I know the book really, really makes Don Corleone seem very cunning, very thoughtful, very intuitive, very observant.
Sure.
Which you don't always pick up. In the movies, sometimes I guess you don't pick up on that, but in the book, they're very...
Well, I guess you're
meticulous.
You're privileged to more of their inside thoughts in the book. So,
yeah, that's true. I guess that's true with most books, too.
Unless you wanted to have Don be like Sherlock Holmes, like, so I see your voice is weak. He's like, what? How did you know that? As soon as you came in, I saw you touching your throat.
And I noticed you were only drinking anisette instead of the usual champagne cocktails. So the song ends. They all, the Godfather and Hagen leave.
Then it goes into that classic Godfather wedding music.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, and they all drink wine. I want to point out one other aspect to this. I noticed, and call me crazy, but you can also call me Dick Tracy. I think the drummer of this band in this shot looks just like Chris Farley.
Funny man, Chris Farley?
Very funny man, very funny man, Black Sheep, Happy Gilmore, Chris Farley.
Are you talking about, what was that one, White Ninja? What was the one he did where he played a
Black
ninja?
Sheep.
No, there was one where he played a...
Black Sheep, White Ninja?
There was one where he played a ninja, a fat ninja.
Oh, yeah, it was Beverly Hills Ninja. Beverly Hills White Ninja. White Ninja? You really thought it was called that? It's because he never got past his white belt.
Yeah, well, right? I think he's wearing a white costume in the thing. So I thought it was more like that than about two works on two levels. Yeah. So are you postulating that this is actually Chris Farley?
Yes, I am.
That was young Chris Farley, or is it a time traveling Chris Farley?
Possibly both, but probably the first.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a time traveling young Chris Farley who went from like 1979 to like 1970.
Yes.
Not even when he was famous, just when he was still a struggling actor.
But interestingly, he looks like an older Chris Farley.
Weird.
So maybe it was
Just maybe.
sort of this alternate universe where Chris Farley didn't die, or maybe he, not even an alternate universe. Remember, he really didn't die. He faked his death just to rehab
true.
without
Yeah.
Hollywood spotlight on
Pulled
him.
a Kaufman.
And then he somehow went back in time as an older drummer in a big band era.
You always wanted to
gig.
be in an Italian wedding band.
Or maybe he went back in time in the hopes of getting into the Don's office to ask him a favor, hey, keep these drugs away from me. I need to clean up.
And that's why the Don was so anti-drugs. It's a dirty business.
Oh,
It's drugs.
yes, that's it.
He was just doing it to protect Chris Farley.
Well, to protect Connie, because he needed the drummer in the band.
Oh. Well, once the wedding was over, he totally should have been okay with it then.
Yeah, but he didn't know what the future Chris Farley could come back again even earlier and then mess up all the drum beats.
Once you get into time travel, it gets
Yeah.
tough to keep track of things. So,
So check it out. Go back, all y'all listen look at minute 22 and look in the last few seconds for your favorite drummer,
the White Ninja himself.
Beverly Hills White Ninja himself, Christopher Farley.
So speaking of this minute, how do you rank this one? Now, technically, Marlon Brando does say a line in it, but it's a tough one. You mostly just see him from the back.
I enjoy watching Tessio enjoying the song performance, but this is one of those minutes that we talked about earlier. It's a Johnny Fontaine slow one. I'm gonna say 2.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I think other than Michael's line about that's my family, that's not me. I think that the rest of it is kind of, it's a breath between.
Yeah.
I think the next scene is, of course, Johnny Fontaine.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna be jumping.
Although there is a bit where Tom Hagen's looking for Sonny. Does that come up next? Anyway, we'll find out.
Yeah.
So,
So I'm going 2.
yeah,
And it's
I
minute
said 2.
22 also.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
I gave it a 2. You gave it a 2. 22.
Now, if we were going to take seriously my theory of Chris Farley coming back in time, I would.
What do you mean if we're taking it seriously?
Oh, then I'm giving it a 5. Okay. Time traveling Chris Farley and making a drummer appearance in Godfather 1 is a 5.
If you look very closely in the next minute, like I don't want to you'll see like Chris Farley disappearing in like a beam of light as he's being transported back to his own time. So this mission was fulfilled. So keep an eye out for that. It was a heck of a time with the lighting. So
are you keeping it a 2 also?
I'm going to keep it.
Due. Say it with me.
Vene due.
Oh, you give it a 22.
22. That's how much I
Whoa.
like it.
Nice.
So I noticed we have not come up with any topic. Usually while we're doing the episode, we talk about, we pick a topic for our Patreons, but as of this, we have not done it.
So it's good. Well, it'll be a surprise then.
Yeah, so stay tuned. And also, if you want to email us, maybe give us a topic.
For the bonus episodes in particular.
Yeah, I think Alex at Godfather Minute comes to me. So we'll see what happens.
Alex at godfathercomestome.com.
Yeah, it's very
How'd you ever get that domain name,
there's a
dude?
slash in there somewhere too. It's
Backslash.
yeah. So if you have a topic you want us to address, maybe we'll do that. So
That's a great idea.
So
We are trying to find more ways to
interactive. We want to make it interactive.
make it interactive, and we want to hear you. We want to hear your voice.
Yeah, totally. It's weak. It's weak.
It's weak.
Right now. It's weak.
Well,
but
we can do
want it
something.
to be stronger.
The Don can do something about that.
Yeah. Not
You
like a
think
man.
that maybe that's one thing we talk about in the bonus material. Oh, that's for a later minute. Where how does the Don actually help him rehab his voice?
Oh,
is
okay.
the Don a vocal coach?
Yeah, we'll have to examine that. It's like, stick some wet paper towels in your cheeks. It
Works
really
for
helps.
me.
Yeah, if anyone should have good vocal training, it's Don Marlon Brando.
It'd be great if Don Corleone brings Johnny in, takes the cotton out, and you see, Johnny, I've just been doing that for 40 years because it makes him more convincing.
Yeah, he's like, here he
mob
gives him the
boss.
wet paper towel.
He's like, thanks, Godfather. Oh, we really should start practicing our Johnny Fontaine
Oh,
impressions.
because right now it's weak.
Yeah, it's weak. It's weak.
All right, everyone. So we'll be back with another episode next week. But until then, leave the gun, take the cannoli to Godfather Minute. Bam!